Hello everybody, so welcome back to a new video. In case you're new here, my name's Chloe and make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. So as you can tell by the title, this week I'm going to do a what I've read this month. Yeah, what books I've read this month. So I have to admit they are mainly the ones I've been studying in like lectures and stuff, but there are a couple that I've just been reading in my own time. But as an English literature student, it is really hard to do reading that isn't on the course because you have so much reading to do. So yeah, let's get on with the video. So I'm going to start with one that I am currently reading, and this is The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. I'm not too sure what's going on at the minute. I am quite near the beginning. I'm on like chapter 2, I think. But this is one of the books I'm reading this week. It seems okay. I've heard quite a good few things about it. So yeah, I don't really know what else to say about this one because obviously I haven't read it all, so I'm a bit unsure. But yeah, so that's one of the books. If you want me to, I might actually, just in case, just leave the names of all the books in the description box, so if there's anything you like the look of, you can just type them into Amazon and grab them. So this is more of a critical angle, but this is the Shakespeare Handbook. We use this in our Shakespeare lessons. So it just has like critical things in it, critical theories and stuff like that. There's one here that I just randomly opened up that's called Shakespeare Literary Author, and it just goes into detail basically about who Shakespeare was and then any critical views that anybody has on him, and also like different theories, so like feminist theories, and we did one called the Green Theory a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, that's the Shakespeare Handbook. Obviously this is definitely like a English lit thing. Like this is very critical reading. So yeah, it's actually quite alright. I thought it would be quite boring when we were given our list of books and this was on here. I was like, okay. But actually I quite enjoy reading this compared to actually reading Shakespeare. Okay, so next, this is Brothers Grimm, the Robber Bridegroom. So basically this is all the classic fairy tales. So there's like Snow White, Hansel and Gretel, Sleeping Beauty. I love this book. Like it's all the traditional tales of everything. So let me just find. So Snow White 40. I'm just going to read you like the first little bit. So it literally does start with Once Upon a Time, which made me really happy because when he was like, we're doing the traditional ones, I was like, it's not going to be the same. But it just starts with Once Upon a Time in the middle of winter, when the snowflakes were falling from the sky like feathers, a queen sat sewing at a window with a frame of block ebony. But yeah, I love this. This is like all basically like an old-fashioned, I'm going to use that old-fashioned really lightly, version of Snow White and, as I said, Hansel and Gretel, Sleeping Beauty. Love this book. Like it's only a tiny little book, but it's so good, and it was only £1, like winner. Okay, so next is George Orwell's 1984. This book is going to be the death of me. I'm currently writing my essay on it. I'm using a passage from this. Hang on, bear with me. As you can see, it's all written over and noted. This is the passage that I'm doing for my essay personally. But George Orwell, 1984, is basically written in 1940s, I think. It's after World War One, World War Two. Oh my God, World War Two. And it's about the 1980s. It's like predicting. It's like all about Big Brother, and it's so good. Like everybody was saying that that's where actual Big Brother, the TV show, comes from, and I was like, what? Sorry, excuse me. So yeah, this is a really good book. Definitely recommend that if you have time to buy this and read it. Like a lot of people might disagree with me, but I really enjoyed this book. Yeah, it's just really good. I don't want to ruin it for anyone that actually wants to read it, but basically it's all about Big Brother and the 80s, and it's so good. Okay, so again, this is another one from the critical aspect of things, but this is Orwell to the Present by John Brannigan. This is one that I am again using for my essay, as you can see by all the post-it notes, and it's just basically, he's just talking about the time period and what effects there are and how it relates to Orwell, and etc, etc. But this isn't the best book in the world, to be honest, to read. it is all a bit confusing. Like, he has it under different chapters and everything, and sometimes you have to like read it again to actually understand what's going on. But for my coursework it works. For my assignment it works really well, just as a secondary source, and it relates to what I'm talking about in the book itself. So okay, so this next book was the weirdest book in the world. It's called Money by Martin Amis, but what it doesn't tell you on the front page is that it's actually called Money, a Suicide Note. But it isn't a suicide note. It is extremely strange. But yeah, it's all about this bloke called John Self, who is rich but isn't rich, if that makes sense. It's a weird book and it is really hard and painful to read. But some people did quite like this book, so if you enjoy reading stuff like this, then yeah, it's very like, it's very adult-y. It's very grown up. Like, it's all about sex and money and girls and stuff like that. Like, it's not really my cup of tea, to be completely honest with you. And as someone who thinks that this way of life is a bit ridiculous, really, this is not something I would choose to personally read. But again, if it's your cup of tea, you might enjoy reading it. So next, this is one of my favourite books on the whole entire course, only because I studied it the whole way through year 12 and 13, and now I'm doing it again at university. It's The Great Gatsby. If you don't know The Great Gatsby, have you been living under a rock? The Great Gatsby is a 1920s, 1930s book, and is all about like the American dream and everything, and it's all from the point of view of a narrator called Nick, who gives you all of his opinions on someone. So it is quite hard to develop your own opinion, but I love this book. I don't really know what else to say about it because it's so good. There's nothing to criticise. But I have to admit, the first time I read this book, it was really hard to read. But quite a few people on my course actually enjoyed reading this the first time around. I think it was because at A-level I was kind of like, oh, I don't want to be doing English Lit Lang, so it was a bit like, sort of thing. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed this book. Now that I've read it again at degree level and studied it at degree, it makes me really happy and I really enjoyed it. I think as well, once you've studied it, it is hard to get some of the aspects of what you've actually studied out of your mind when you're reading books like this one. But I managed to do that, and I read it a couple of times actually, because we did it 2 weeks in a row, so I read it twice. But I really, really enjoyed it this time round, and the film was really good as well, by the way. Shouldn't be saying that, but I will. Okay, so this next one is kind of on the lines of Money, but kind of not for what's in it, but just because what it is. It's called The Rattlebag, and it's basically just a selection of poetry, and I hate poetry. Like, I know I'm an English lit student, like I shouldn't hate poetry, but poetry is one of like the things that I don't enjoy reading. I will prefer a good novel or a good like biography or autobiography or something like that, but poetry's not a big fan. Like, I just don't like it. Like, one of the poems is called, hang on, let me just open it up. Death in Leamington. Like, they're all depressing, and I know like they're supposed to be like personal experiences, but like I just really wish that they weren't so not dramatic, but like depressing all the time and heartbreaking and all about death. But yeah, there was one that I really liked called Watch Your Step, I'm Drenched, by who wrote that? By Adrian Mitchell. Yeah, that was quite a good poem. But this book, not a big fan. But if you like poetry, you've got a massive stack of poetry to read. So yeah, I definitely recommend this if you like poetry. But as I said, personally, I'm not a big fan, and it's not my favourite thing to read. Okay, so as the books I have read out of my course, I haven't actually got them on me because they were on my Kindle, but I have written them down. So I read a bibliography about Kate Middleton. I really enjoyed that. It was just like, I don't know, it was just something nice to read. It was different. And I do quite like Kate as a person, as like a role model. She's just, I don't want to use the word perfect, but do you know what I mean? Like, she's just someone who I really enjoy following and seeing what she wears. Like, at the event at Dundee yesterday, her coat was absolutely stunning. I loved it. Like, I've been trying to find it, but like, I think it's an old season Alexandra McQueen one, and I'm so sad. When I say yesterday, by the way, I mean Tuesday the 29th of January. 29th of January. So yeah, that was a good book. I really enjoyed that. And then one that I have read numerous times, I watched the film numerous times, but I was on the bus and the bus was taking forever and I had my Kindle. I was looking through the books that was on there, and you know when you just look through the books and you're like, do I actually want to read any of these? And I saw this one and I was like, well, I've read it multiple times, so why not? And that's Girl on the Train. Like, that's always been my favourite book. Like, I wrote my personal statement on The Girl on the Train. Like, come on. So yeah, that's a good book. I really enjoy that book. But yeah, so that's everything I've been reading this month as a English Lit student. So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as I said, if you like any of the books that I mentioned, they will be down below in the description, and if you just pop them in Amazon, it's the time you can get really good deals. They'll give you like the cheapest price, or if you have a Kindle, it comes up with the Kindle price as well. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you once a day for a new one. Bye!